Right. Welcome to another Guitar Talk episode, and I'd like to talk about sequences still. Another thing that we can do with sequences is the concept that I like to call displacement. And I have two kinds of displacements that I'm gonna share to you. The first one is note displacement, and the second one is rhythmic displacement. And what that means is basically we're just gonna play the same sequences, the same basic sequences, the sequence 4, 3, and skip, but displacing the notes and rhythm and making it sound different or have a different feel. By doing so, we put the accent on a different place of the sequence. So let's take a look at the note displacement so that you can see what I'm talking about. So let's take a pentatonic scale for this. Sequence 4 for this example. So the first displacement, so this is going to be note displacement. It's going to be like this. So basically, it's the same thing as we've always done, or the usual way that we play this sequence. That's the first displacement. So for note displacement, we're just gonna move the starting note earlier. So instead of playing the first note every time, we're gonna play, for the second displacement, we're gonna play the second note and play it on the first count. So for sequence 4, instead of playing this, we're gonna start at the second note. So that's the second displacement. A little bit different. It's almost like it sounds like a different sequence, but in essence, it's actually the same sequence, but just the notes are being displaced or played earlier, or you're starting at the second note. So for the sequence 4, there's 4 displacements that we can do because it's a 4-note sequence. So let's take a look at the third displacement, starting at the third note and playing it at the first count. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the third displacement. Fourth displacement, starting on the fourth note of the sequence, playing it at 1. So, sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are the 4 displacements of the sequence 4. So let me just play the first displacement all the way to the fourth so that you can hear and compare how it sounds like. So the first one. Second one. Third. Fourth. So the same sequence, sequence 4, but being displaced 4 times. And of course, you can do this with the rest of the sequence, like sequence skip. So let's take a look at that. Let's take a minor 7 arpeggio. Excuse me. So let's take this. So if we're gonna skip So there's gonna be like 2 displacements for sequence skip because it's a 2-note pattern. So the first displacement starting on the first note. Second displacement, you start at the second note or the skip note, then play that as the first or at the first count. So descending. So once again, up to speed, first displacement. The second displacement. So the same sequence, but 2 different ways of playing it, starting on the first or the second note of the sequence. And lastly, the sequence 3, we can also displace that, but we need to, I'm just gonna play it as triplets so that we can feel the significance of the displacements that we're doing. I'm gonna use the major scale. First displacement as triplets. Right, so the second displacement starting at the second note. So there's only 3 displacements this time because it's a 3-note sequence. So again. Third displacement. So those are the 3 displacements or note displacements of the sequence 3. So by doing all those displacements, you can have, with just one sequence, you can have 4 variations or 3 or 2, depending on the sequence that you're playing. And you'll get almost like, you can treat it as a different sequence, or you can think of it as the same sequence but just being displaced. And I can think of a few examples for this, like Guthrie Govan, he plays a 4-note sequence using the 4th displacement. He plays it a lot of times, something like this. So instead of playing the first note, he plays the 4th displacement and starts at the 4th note of the sequence. And he usually follows it up with chromatic or chromaticism. I'm not sure exactly what he does because I'm not I can't quite mimic his playing, but something like this, I guess. Something like that. So yeah, and also another guitarist that I can think of who uses this displacement method is Malmsteen. He plays a harmonic minor or a diatonic scale in 1 string, but instead of playing a 4-note sequence or sequence 4 at the first displacement like this, he plays it at the 4th displacement and starting on the 4th note. He plays it a lot of times. Something like that. So yeah, those are a few examples of practical applications of the sequence or displacement of the sequence. So that was a note displacement. Let's take a look at rhythmic displacement. So for rhythmic displacement, instead of changing the starting note of the sequence, we're just going to change the time on which we start the sequence. So instead of playing on 1 all the time and playing the first note, we're gonna play it at for example, for the sequence 4, we'll just take a sequence 4 as an example. We're gonna start at 1, the E of 1, the AND of 1, and then the A of 1. So let's take a look at that. So for the 1, it's just gonna be the same as the regular way of playing the sequence. I'm just gonna tap my foot as a metronome. I'm not sure if you can hear it, like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the 1. Now let's play the A of 1. So we're gonna skip 1 and start playing the sequence at the A of 1. So 3, 4. So let's try the A or the AND of 1 again. AND of 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. And finally the A of 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. So those are the 4 rhythmic displacements of the sequence 4, and I'm just gonna do the sequence 4 because I haven't quite figured out the triplet feel of that. So I actually got that from Frank Gambale. He had an instructional video called the Monster Licks video, where he was talking about economy picking, and he demonstrated that concept, displacing the sequence 4 rhythmically, but he was using economy picking. So that's where I got the concept. So those are the 2 displacements that you can do with the sequences. So all of these methods I've shown you, like I suggested or advised that we have to learn the sequences in like one position or in all the position or positional playing, and also in string form. So position, string, and octaves. And aside from that, we need to be able to play those sequences as 16th notes and triplets. So 16 notes, triplets. Okay, I'm gonna slow it down. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So triplets, 16 notes. So different subdivisions, and as well as the scale. So major scale, pentatonic scale, and 4-note arpeggios. And I've added this concept in this video, the 2 kinds of displacements, which gives us a lot of things to practice. So normally we would practice those sequences like starting at the very top position, the lowest string on the very first position of the guitar, and all the way up to the highest position and the highest string. And even although we don't do that, or we don't really play that way when we're improvising or soloing, I still think that it's still important to like master all these basic shapes and sequences and all those different forms, ways of playing them, different subdivisions, because when we're improvising, we want to be like ready to be able to play those sequences. And I like to point out what Guthrie Govan said in one of his interviews when he was asked by his students to teach him about an advanced technique. And Guthrie Govan said, or referred to like a martial arts master, where he said that this technique will only be useful to you as soon as you can execute it as fast or faster than, or as fast as you can decide to think of it. So meaning, we need to be able to master a certain technique to the point where we don't have to think about it a lot or to give it much thought, or even as we begin to think of it, it's already there in your hands. So if when you're improvising and you're like thinking about doing a fast run and your fingers aren't ready or conditioned to do it, you won't be able to execute it. But, so that's why we need to like drill these sequences down. And every position, in every form, like string, position, octaves, in every subdivision, in every displacement, and in every scale, pentatonic scale and arpeggio shape that we can think of. So that when we're improvising, we want to be ready. So anything that we think about, we can execute with ease. So I'm just gonna end this video with a jam. I'm just gonna see if I can embarrass myself in front of all of you guys. The same jam that I played in the intro, and I'll try to apply the sequences as I'm improvising. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so it stopped, so I guess I'll end there. Yeah, so sequences. I hope I made sense. And yeah, have fun with all those different concepts and playing the sequences. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next video.